Hello, everybody. Just wanted to do a short video to give you some encouragement and help you to better understand some of the recent events that may have gotten your attention, in particular with respect to some of my Michael, Jesus as an angel, Trinitarian related videos, and some of my references to Sam Shamoon in those videos. What happened was Sam and I had reached an agreement a while back within the past year or so that basically we wouldn't target each other, like feature anyone in our videos, but that we wouldn't avoid addressing each other if we felt it was appropriate. In other words, it wasn't like a ban on directly commenting on each other as part of a video or deleting everything we ever said. We just reached a point where we had argued back and forth through emails and otherwise. And Sam and I have known each other in total, about 30 years, I'd say, close to that, or at least 25. Known each other with some periods of no contact in between. But we've also been through some similar things, both in terms of our faith, having to deal with growth and people within your own circles that you break from. And also our own personal circumstances have some similarities that let each of us know we've been through a lot that requires fortitude, right? It requires inner fortitude, whether you have faith or not. And then, so with respect to the things that do require faith, like I was mentioning, Sam and I have both done a lot in our respective circles. Sam's obviously in bigger and more well-known circles in ways that I think at least, allow him to have a better group of people to teach in terms of their faithfulness to him and agreement on doctrine, right? He's more part of a traditional Christian group. By that, I wouldn't in any way agree with Sam when he says non-Trinitarian groups like mine, which often get lumped in with Arianism. I have a video on it. I know Sam knows the differences, but either way, sometimes we'll use terms for convenience, even if they're not entirely accurate, because they designate a prominent feature shared between certain groups. So, however, if push comes to shove, people who are educated should be able to differentiate in order not to mislead people. But in this case, I wouldn't agree with Sam that there haven't always been non-Trinitarians or, people who believe in, like we do, one God the Father. So while we might not have obviously been as visible as some of the bigger, more well-established Christian, I'll say, groups, right? I don't think all of them represented Jesus in the way the Bible teaches. And so there's more that would have to be qualified with respect to the more well-known and visible groups to which Sam belongs. And so right now, today, in this modern day of 2024, non-Trinitarians are, I guess you could say, like I think, Sam does say, right? And remember, Sam and I and others, there's a certain degree of language and terms that are going to sometimes come out strong. And there's a reason for that. That reason is because we all believe, right? It's a Jude 1 thing. The letter of Jude, as I've discussed before briefly, and this isn't going to be a long video, but to finish off this part, Jude opens up and says he wants to talk to everybody about the faith they have in common, right? The joys of being a Christian. But he can't, because there are certain people who have infiltrated. They've crept in and they're causing damage. We've been talking a little bit about how these people relate to Michael in terms of the difference in example, but what I'm focusing on now is the fact that, I think a lot of groups who are Christian, whether they're prominent or Orthodox, or those who are a little bit lesser known or not as well looked upon by society. Again, even though we believe we follow the Bible, it's not like we have some, in terms of Christian witness of Jah, some strange collection of teachings. Now, I was going to say a minute ago, right now, today, non-Trinitarian groups don't have it really easy. It's not looking so good, at least from a Trinitarian perspective, and maybe even non, right? You have the Watchtower Society. Regardless of whatever good you might think it has done, and like other groups, I think it has done some good. It has also done a lot of things that are not good and things that are absolutely wrong. They've misled people. They've been wrong. They don't take accountability. They don't change their authority structure. They reinforce it. If that's what you believe, that's fine. But it's not looking very good for Watchtower, right? They're certainly not in their peak or even going upward in terms of momentum. I think everyone can see that. Whether you guys figure this out and somehow gain people's confidence again, who still believe a lot of your core doctrines, but realize that a lot of the prophecies are gone, So we'll see. But I would certainly say right now, it's not looking very good for Watchtower. So if you're a non-Trinitarian Watchtower, unless you're just totally insulated against everything, you're probably not feeling the same kind of momentum as a Trinitarian, right? And especially when they see Watchtower struggling after all the things Watchtower's done, the magazines and the door-to-door and NWT, right? So when they see a group like Watchtower going down, that pumps them up. Oh, yeah. They absolutely do see that as a vindication of their doctrine, their ministry, their faith, and they get motivated by it. Why not, right? You got these other people over here who are crazy on these other things, so they already think we're wrong on, Jesus and a God and all that stuff, right? So they're not going to shed any tears seeing Watchtower go down. And then you have certain other groups, right? Unitarians don't really have any credible representation in terms of someone who's really establishing their position biblically in a way that is motivating people to advocate for that faith. I'm not talking necessarily quantity. I'm just talking about them. They've been around a while. It's not like they're, this whole Unitarian view of a human Jesus is new or anything. There may be some new aspects to it. But I'm not really talking about I'm thinking about momentum, really, right? Even with Watchtower, they got numbers, but where's the momentum? Right now, I think the momentum is or has been on the Trinitarian side. And it's been on their side for a long time in some ways, overall, right? But, there's also been times during this century and last century where groups like Watchtower, me, and others have challenged Trinitarians in public debate, in writing, with our videos that have, gotten the attention of Trinitarians and certainly made it clear that we're not all wrapped up in this pathetic, self-defeating interpretation of the Bible. Well, maybe many of us are. I don't think we are. No, that doesn't mean we're any better than anyone. But in terms of the Christian witnesses of Jah, well, I did most of my work when I was with Watchtower. And while I tried to defend them where I could on some issues related to things like prophecy and others, because people were falsely accusing them or citing them in some respects, I realize there are problems. I accept they have problems. And the fact is, those problems don't make everything else a problem or wrong, just like it would be true of any other group that has problems like that or similar going on. You have to look at each thing. What's your source? What's your authority? As I've been saying recently, for us, it's the Bible. And I think it is for everyone else when you get right down to it. And I think if you really do have the truth, right, I still can't understand why what you believe is true wouldn't be pretty much, if not exactly, what the Bible tells you to do. So it just so happens that the biggest Christian groups are Trinitarian, or if they're not, they're like Watchtower with a lot of other suspect things. So for groups, people like us who are much smaller than even Watchtower, right? But that would be true of Jesus relative to Jerusalem and, of course, with other groups. So it's not a quantity. Again, it's never really been that for Jah or Jesus. Just look at them and the people they've chosen, whether it's Abraham, whether it's Moses, whether it's Jesus' followers. I can give you plenty of examples where a very small group of people was used to make tremendous changes and impact in a positive way that God was supportive of, that he was behind, right? So I never think of it in that way as a limiting factor. I simply do what I just mentioned. I look at the Bible and I look and I say to myself, okay, am I following? Because I've already gone through this, right? When I left Watchtower and I had to reevaluate everything and come to the conclusion that eternal life exists and life only comes from life. And the same is true for energy and matter. God is eternal energy. Energy converts into matter. All things are of the Father. So there's no ex nihilo that's scientific or biblical. It's very easy for me to then put what is scientific and biblical together and accept it. Now, I realize maybe we don't always interpret everything so easily and obviously, but I try to. I think the more we can do that, that's why we only have 3 required beliefs, right? All Christian witnesses of Jah have more than 3 beliefs about the Bible and life. But we realize that there are 3 things that are more important than anything else. And we can get along with each other or just not be close with each other when it comes to anything else. Those 3 things are one God the Father, Jah the God of the Bible, the Messiah of the Bible, Jesus, sent forth Savior, whom we can prove with pre-Christian texts is most likely the one foretold in texts. It tells us about a whole lot of things that point to God as Jah and Jesus as the Messiah, plus the golden rule, treating each other, loving each other the way we want to be treated and loved. We find it puts us above hypocrisy. Our faith in Jesus allows us to receive forgiveness for our mistakes because we all fall short. We're not in a condition that allows us to deal with everything the way we want to. But that doesn't mean that if we fall short, we quit. Jude 3, right? He comes out and he starts talking about the faith he wants to say, and he's got these people infiltrating, causing problems, gets everyone nervous, right? In that case, rightly so. Now, today, all these different groups, right? People are nervous. Who's teaching the truth? Is that group heretic? Is this heresy? Do you teach what we teach? It's all over the place, right? It's probably more so today than any time ever, or at least the same. It looks like to me. It looks like if you're not part of this group, then you're a problem for that group. And even if you're not a problem for that group right now, and you try to work things out, like I was chatting with Sam earlier, because, as I mentioned earlier, we kind of got off the chain a little bit. We had an agreement where we just pull back, stop for the sake of ourselves and everybody we try to help. Not to get too aggressive with each other or target each other like we had been, at least in some ways, that just led to an escalation that I don't think was appropriate. I don't agree with Sam on a lot of things. I do like Sam in more ways now that I've gotten to know him, and I have a much higher respect for his overall knowledge. I don't agree with Sam's interpretation of the Bible in critical respects, but I think I've probably not given Sam the credit I should have, and which is in part why I deleted some of those older videos. They were more critical. There's just too much of a critical body of videos from me about Sam. Some of it was lighthearted, and I don't think Sam took it all negatively. But Sam's followers are very passionate, and it just didn't it didn't sit well with a lot of people. Even though Sam does his own share, as we all know, of highly critical videos. So we reached this point where we agreed, okay, we won't target each other, but we're not going to avoid each other either, right? It's almost in some ways impossible, but in another way, not, right? You can moderate your behavior. You can ongoingly, right, constructively, like I think we are now, right? I think when I posted the clip I posted, I did a series of videos where I was doing kind of right before and during and after this whole thing went down, my Zechariah, Angels of Jotwa and Zechariah series. So it was like overlapping that. And, well, as you saw, part of my clip from that Zechariah series involved this whole connection with Jude, Michael, and the Angel of Jotwa and Zechariah 3. So I clipped it, and it does mention Sam. I think another video I mentioned Sam, but again, we didn't say we wouldn't mention each other, but I think it got misinterpreted a little. So I started getting some flack. And then I think Sam saw the video and people were telling him I was being mean to him. I think some people were telling him I was being attacking him because we had this truce and it kind of seemed like I was talking about him more, But one was from an earlier video, if not two. I did mention him more, but I knew I had that video and I knew he had been doing similar videos. And again, there was no zero mention, but it all kind of came together that way recently. And led to, Sam's not just going to let, Sam is the number one defender of the Trinity. I don't think there's any question about it. Even if you think you know more than Sam or you're more polished or educated than Sam, like maybe Dr. White and his knowledge of the Trinity, right? He's up there. But, if you look at the volume, right? You look at Sam's overall experience, knowledge, and the volume. I think he's number one. Now, that doesn't, to me, make the Trinity any better. It just means that Sam is someone who takes it very seriously, right? Even though Sam's kind of funny and he plays around, right? And Sam probably goes after people the most, Sam. We know that. But Sam also kind of expects you to, I don't know, I guess I'll let a lot of that go. And so if you do it to him, he'll notice it right away. Sam's got a good radar. He's immediately tuned into someone who said something. So, and he'll react, So we're in this situation where I'm trying to do some video clips that I think will help people believe Michael the Archangel is the angel of the Lord, whom they say is Jesus. And then it snowballs into this whole thing. But then I saw a post from Sam. He added me where he was going to do a whole video on me. I thought he was going to feature me the way we agreed not to, based on that post he did, that first one. Now he ended up doing a video that addressed my Angel of Jotwa and Michael video. The not the last one I did, but the earlier one. And he didn't address or feature me in the title or thing. He did in the description, and that's okay. Again, there wasn't a zero mention. It was just we kind of agreed we wouldn't go after each other. So it's kind of tricky when it sort of starts to happen or issues come up and we each are very sensitive to the other when our arguments or our positions are getting attacked or threatened. And our different people we teach or interact with come to us and say, hey, what about this or that? Or I start getting more things. Or people keep asking me, hey, what about, you've never addressed Sam, right? I get that probably 5 to 10 times a week, someone will say, hey, when are you going to debate Sam? What about Sam? They don't even know that Sam and I have known each other for a long time or ever talked or nothing. So it doesn't ever go away, right? Just because Sam and I agree not to do something, our videos are out there, right? And Sam has a lot of videos out there about me and stuff, or at least featuring me. Whereas I deleted a lot. I didn't say he had to, and I understood that. That's okay. People want to know the truth, and they'll watch what they watch, and they'll figure it out on their own. I'm not worried about it. I don't like it necessarily, when I'm featured as a Bible pervert, but I've called Sam a Bible pervert as well. And I can't delete all of those things. We both think that we teach false doctrine, each of us respectively. So it's not that, it sounds harsh, So it can be difficult, I think, for a lot of you when you see me and Sam slip in, or me and anybody, right? Start to, as I said in my comments review number 7, with that Trinitarian commenter I reviewed, it can happen. Now, he told me to go to hell. And said, I think he said I was dishonest, or someone else did. I told him he sodomized himself, right? So, but we both were saying it from the perspective of Jude 1:3. Each of us is looking at the other and thinking, this person's a pervert. This person's perverting, like Paul says in Galatians 1, perverting the faith. Hey, I got to stop him. I got to fight hard, contend earnestly. That's what Jude says. I want to talk to you about this, but we've got a problem here. These perverts are going crazy. I need you guys to fight hard. That's what Jude is saying. So Sam hears that. The other Trinitarians hear that, right? And they see non-Trinitarians like me proclaiming, these things that contradict their, so they're going to react, right? Well, what are we supposed to do? Just fold like some people have done or do? Right? So we got Watchtower going down. We've got certain other non-Trinitarian people going down, changing their faith, becoming Trinitarian, and all of a sudden what? We're wrong now? Just because you were wrong, we're wrong? And we're supposed to just be happy about it? Now, how about no? How about you go do what you want and leave us alone and stop pretending that all of a sudden now you're right and we're all wrong? No, we got to deal with all that. We got to deal with the Watchtower people who believe what we do about God and Jesus and the Golden Rule, but who absolutely won't support us, won't like a video, won't subscribe. Well, some people do. So a few Watchtower people do, but a majority, no. Especially once they hear me say anything critical, right? They could be happy. Some are like, they love the Trinity stuff, and I'm happy it helps you. I don't want you to lose your faith. Because, if you lose it, you might not find it again. But I want you to see what you should have your faith in while you still have it. That's a lot easier. So I am trying to help you maintain your faith until you see what I see, that there are certain things we should do and certain things we shouldn't do. And if we just do those things and don't do those things, we should be okay, right? And we're still going to have to deal with Trinitarians and others who say, no, you got to do it our way. Yeah, and they won't like us. None of them will. Even if Sam and I were to collaborate, like I suggested to him on a whole different subject, just, try to give it all a branch and be friendly. I don't want us to always have to be fighting over something, right? That's never good. And it just, again, slips back into this whole thing. So I'm trying to just be a normal person and get along with people where I can without compromising, though, right? And Sam wouldn't either. Sam will be very nice to you until you're, once he senses you're compromising, if he feels uncomfortable, he'll turn. So that's understandable. Well, so will I. Yeah, I know all the Trinitarians would love it if I converted like some people. The Watchtower people tell me the same thing. Did you know that, Trinitarians? I get more Watchtower people telling me they want me to come back than you guys want me to convert. So I'm just sitting here trying to have my faith, right? I think I've come through a lot of stuff that I accept. And I think I've identify what is reliable enough. And for everybody else, except a very small group of people, it's not enough. And then when my side, quote unquote, we'll say the non-Trinitarian side, starts to take hits, right? Watchtower's going down. Other notable non-Trinitarians are going down or flipping, or just are not credibly relevant, right? They could be here a long time like Unitarians, so what, right? Is anyone excited about that? No. Sorry, Carlos. Sorry, Anthony. Give you credit for at least trying. But I'm not that excited about it, and I think you're not teaching the truth and or lying. So no thanks. No, I think we've got it right. I think if we can just keep going, Trinitarians don't want to hear that. No one wants to hear that. You know who wants to hear that? I do. I'm me, and God is God, and we see what we think will please him. So it's not about making anyone else happy. It's about living with yourself. Can you live with yourself based on what you've come to believe? Then that's what you should do. And you should stand for it to the extent that you can continue to believe it with the best available evidence. And until someone can show that you don't have that very clearly, and not just for other reasons, but you really don't have the right evidence. You're factually not correct. Until that, we're not supposed to just be surrendering our faith. Many of us, again, have come through many things. I don't expect Trinitarians to surrender their faith. I say it here all the time. If you follow this channel at all regularly, I pretty frequently say, and say to even people I'm reading comments from, we don't want Trinitarians to lose their faith. Not me, and not many like me. We don't think you're right, but the same with the Jews in Jesus' day, right? It's not so easy. Jesus said we don't want to uproot the wheat with the weeds. If you're a Trinitarian, you have your faith. Well, I can see why. You got the Bible, you got arguments about history and things, and people on your side who are very well educated and capable and who can be persuasive. It's just understandable. So just like with the widow with 2 small coins at the temple, in spite of all those people Jesus whipping throughout the temple, we have to be careful not to stumble people. But we also have to defend the faith, right? This is not easy. This is a challenge we've been presented with because of the divisions that the dragon has caused and that the Messiah allows, right? This is how we're going to prove ourselves, even if we stand against each other. If you're standing against me with your faith to the master in ways that you see and he can see you see, and I do the same thing too, we have to let him be the one who decides. Now, again, if someone's wrong and you want to change, do what you got to do, right? I don't make anything from this, right? I mean, I've written some books and things, and I'm going to write some again, but these aren't like super wildly popular or expensive. I spend my money to make them, and other than those things, everything I do is basically free. Videos, blog articles, extended comments, things, whatever I can do. Email. I'm not saying that, I'm not commenting on anyone else here. I'm just telling you about me. So I do this in that way because I really believe this. When I left Watchtower, I went through a change that took me a while to recover from. I had put a lot into it, as you all know. I'd reached the point where I'd published the second edition of Jehovah's Witnesses Defended. It's a massive undertaking. Didn't have a lot of help. None really. Well, I had, some people who were encouraging. I had to help Rolf with his early books. 3 dissertations, the Bowman, White debates. I'm talking like the early 2000s. A lot going on there. Right at the time after the White debate, right before that, I left Watchtower. There's too much going on, too many issues, and then a lot of other things happen. But I continued to believe, and I found reasons to keep my faith and to fight for it. So I'm not here just because, I don't like the Trinity. I saw someone on Sam's channel say, and probably didn't mean it the way it came out, but, I don't hate Trinitarians. Yeah, it comes out pretty strong. Have you heard how strong Sam is against Jehovah's Witnesses? Or me? Or other people? So, I think it's easy to react, right? I think, Trinitarians feel pretty good right now. Okay, well, Trinitarians, what do you think? You guys are coming at non-Trinitarians pretty strong. We understand, and you guys have momentum. Well, what are we supposed to do? Just collapse? No. Those of us who actually believe, we're going to rise up. You know that. You're going to see right now who are the real biblical non-Trinitarians. So you shouldn't be surprised that some of us actually have faith and we're going to fight back. That's what Jude said. I need you to fight hard, not fighting physically and harm. No. And we do have to restrain ourselves. It can get tough. It did in the Bible. It got so tough between apostles, they had to leave each other. Paul was condemning Peter. Christians in Ephesus confronted the superfine apostles as liars. How do you think that went down? And not so friendly, huh? So, this is going to be tough. Jude is telling us this is going to be a problem. These guys are in. Who are those guys? Who are those women? Well, one side thinks it's this side, and the other side thinks it's that side, and this side thinks it's that side. And you know what? The dragon has us exactly where he wants us. So I'm going to do my best not to further the model of division that we're all in, right? It's almost like that type of thing, maybe quicksand or something else, that if you move, it gets closer to getting you, right? You almost have to not move and kind of slowly move the right way, and then you can get out, right? So dragon's very good. We all have to be careful and make sure that we can sleep at night, that we actually have reasons we have thought about, that we don't have to know, just like when we walk outside today, whether we'll return home alive. Many people don't. But every single person who walks outside, unless you're in a war zone or a highly criminalized area, probably believes they're going to survive. They have good enough reasons to go out and risk their life. And I think we have the same spiritually. So let's cultivate it. Let's not avoid contention where it has to be done, but where we can help bring it back to a better place, even if we're still at odds with each other. We do what we can. But like I said, I had reached out to Sam earlier about maybe collaborate on something to smooth things out. And I was just kind of suggesting as a thing, like I'm sure he knows. But even in thinking about it, right? What are we really supposed to do? Sam and I collaborate on something against, say, Calvinism, right? Dr. White and stuff like that. Well, how long is it going to be before Sam feels like he has to make me a Trinitarian, right? How long is it going to be before I think, Sam, you believe in the Trinity? So where would that really get us, right? What would that really do for Sam? And he'd be promoting me, an non-Trinitarian, anti-Trinitarian. So in one sense, these kind of collaborations, I'm sure we could absolutely destroy, right? Tulip and that whole position, reform position, right? But we already have. But at what cost? Well, for each of us, it would be exposing the other to things that are even worse overall, or just as bad, right? So either way, it's not so simple, as you can see. So I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to keep doing my videos. I'm going to try not to get as involved or trigger Sam. But that's not going to mean we're not going to do things that will not get each other's attention. I don't care if Sam responds to my videos, and that's all fine. We have agreed basically not to be openly attacking and disrespectful, except for occasional insults, okay? We're not expecting perfection here. So please try not to bother us if we just express ourselves the way we choose to. And if we feel we have a problem with each other, we know about Matthew 18, we'll do it. Otherwise, I'm going to try to focus on our agenda, but I'll also do what I have to respond to Sam in the way I think is appropriate based on what he says about me and our positions and how threatened we might feel about it. So I wanted to share this with you. I wanted to encourage you about things, not to get down hard and think we're going to get back into all this crazy debate and all that. No, we'll keep it level. We'll keep it straight. I think Sam and I have a pretty good position from which to build from, even though I doubt, it will lead to what they or some of you may think. Let's not get carried away, okay? Just because Sam and I are getting along, we're going to try to continuously work at being better people towards each other, even though we totally disagree and think each other is a Bible pervert. We've come to accept what that involves and realize we're just going to deal with it the best we can. So with that in mind, I will be back this Saturday for our Angels of Ja'o and Exodus, the start of that series, and this Sunday for part of our Athanasius Read and Refute series. I'll continue going through all those things. I'm going to try to be as respectful and concise and informative to you as I can. And until then, may God bless you. In Jesus' name.